Shabbat Shalom, I'm Robert Barr, and
I'm Aya Pillsbury.
we're so glad you're here to celebrate Shabbat with us and Hanukkah. So we have a lot going on tonight. We're going to read a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit. We're going to light lots of candles tonight, and we have water and fire extinguishers all around. So don't worry.
Everything's safe.
Safe. We're in safe mode. If you have something on your computer, they say open in safe mode. Light candles in safe mode as well. So if you want to start, Aya, that'd be great.
6 days we speak. Tonight we listen. 6 days we build. Tonight we rest. 6 days we take care of others. Tonight we nurture ourselves. 6 days we work to change our world. Tonight we are renewed by what is eternal. 6 days we plan for the future. Tonight, we are enveloped by the present. 6 days we eat and drink in haste. Tonight, we savor the taste of bread and wine, feel the bond of the world that feeds us.
6 days we teach. Tonight, we learn. 6 days we hear the clamor. Tonight, we listen for clarity. 6 days we struggle to expand our influence. Tonight, we are dissolved in a greater influence. 6 days we focus our vision of the task at hand. Tonight we look beyond what we can see. May each of us find our Sabbath peace. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
So we're here, as you know, if you've joined us before, at Congregation Beth Adam. That's where we stream our JewishCommunity.org. Congregation Beth Adam really spawned this about 8 years ago. We were sitting and talking about that the world is changing, that people are more mobile.
Yeah.
People don't live in the cities that they were raised in frequently. People may grow up in one city, move somewhere else. And that the voice that we have here at Congregation Beth Adam is a bold and innovative voice, very different. So we thought, how can we merge that boldness and those new ideas and the new words with new technology? And that's what our JewishCommunity.org is. It's a blending of using technology with new language and a bold approach to Judaism, and that's what we're about. Now, I know some of you watched live, 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. That's great. You're chatting. Sam's watching. If you have a question to Aya, some people I know I had questions for Aya about that speak to the topic. We're going to talk about Hanukkah and about religion tonight. If you have a question about religion or Hanukkah, we'll take one of those questions. Not about eyeglasses, I know, which I know many people have commented on. Everyone comments on you. You have great glasses. So if you want to do that, those of you who aren't watching live, because we know more than half the people who participate watch in our archives, we're glad you're here. You can always write us a question at rabbi@ourjewishcommunity.org. This really is a dialogue and a conversation, and we're looking for all kinds of new ways to enhance that. So join in. Feel free to write a question. We're going to continue with our candle lighting. On Shabbat, we light the candles. Candles bring forth warmth, illuminating the darkness. Candles offer us warmth, providing comfort. Candle awakens us as we reach for possibilities. As we light these candles, let us use their light to stretch beyond ourselves, touching others, bettering our world.
Baruch ha'or ba'olam, blessed is the light within the world. Baruch ha'or ba'adam, blessed is the light within each person. Baruch ha'or ba'Shabbat, blessed is the light of the Sabbath.
Thanks. So the next thing, so there's different ways of lighting the menorah. We're going to light the menorah in a second. And if you downloaded or read the guide that Aya prepared about Hanukkah, there's multiple ways to light a menorah, right?
Yes, there's actually a whole debate in the Talmud that asks, one rabbi thought that you should start with all of the lights lit, as many lights as possible, so all 9, and then decrease each night because that would emphasize the miraculousness of God's intervention in the world. And then another rabbi, Rabbi Hillel, said that each day we should increase light because it's prettier, and that also adds to the greater miracle of the holiday.
And it used to, but the tradition became putting the candles in one by one, going from right to left to right.
That's also a discussion.
Is it really?
And it depends who you talk to. And isn't it interesting that you can make 2 different arguments for totally different kinds of ritual enactment trying to get the same message across, both emphasizing a miracle that never really happened.
That's the other piece of it.
It doesn't really matter.
And what's interesting, and as menorahs become more complex, it's hard to know even how to do it. I picked this menorah. We have a bricks and mortar service live with the kids later, so I put the other bigger menorah upstairs, and I picked this one. This was the one you were walking around with religious school, and it's sort of complicated because it's actually multi-tiered. It's not just, oftentimes there's one level and then the shamus, the extra candle that's going to go here. I'll put it in after we. The shamus is the extra candle that lights it. One of the interesting things, just to note, the reason that this candle's here, while people say it's the helper candle, there's also an argument that one is not allowed to use the light of the menorah for anything secular. But the light of the shamus, the light of the helper candle, is secular light. It's not.
Because it actually does work. You can't use the light to read or play. You can't use it for anything. It's supposed to just be beautiful.
Right,
Yeah.
but given that you can't distinguish the light from this candle from the other.
Yeah, you don't take that one away and
Right.
blow it out and be like, oh no, that
Right.
never happened.
Right, because candles were expensive.
Yeah.
And so this is where rabbinic Judaism is very interesting. It's very legalistic. And in some ways it's part of the reason there's been pushes back against rabbinic Judaism, Orthodox Judaism, because it's overly legalistic and it creates loopholes to try to get around what the law really is.
Well, you still want people to do what you want them to do. If you make it impossible, no one's going to do it.
That's right. That's part of the Talmud. Go outside and look what people are doing.
Yeah.
And that was one of the traditions. So we're going to light the menorah, and then we're going to talk about this thing about why are we lighting a menorah about a miracle that never happened. So we're going to light as we light the shamus, it evokes for us the magic of the past, the stories of ancient rites, the legends of Hanukkah, and the strength and wisdom of our people. And I can get the front ones. If you keep on reading, I can get the.
Hanukkah is the festival of lights. It is a time to remember the bravery and determination of those who came before us. Under the leadership of the Maccabees, our ancestors fought to defend a sacred idea, that people should be free to believe what they choose. Though they struggled against enormous odds, they overcame a mighty nation. Because of their strength, integrity, and vision, their dream became a reality. We share the dream that our people, and all people, will one day live in freedom. As we light the first candle, we remember their victory, and we rededicate ourselves to their vision.
Baruch ha'or ba'olam, blessed is the light within the world. Baruch ha'or ba'adam, blessed is the light within each person. Baruch ha'or ba'Hanukkah, blessed is the light of Hanukkah. I'm sort of in that Hanukkah mode. So we got a lot of candles here, a lot of flame. So, and then let me get the last one.
In the dancing flames of these Hanukkah lights, we see the power of our ancestors' vision, the strength of human commitment, the triumph of freedom over oppression. The events of our past and the values of our present join now in our dreams and in our hopes for the future.
May the lights of courage and commitment shine and inspire us to action. May the lights of freedom burn brightly in this and every generation. May the lights of Hanukkah remain as beacons which illuminate the darkness. So, as we said, this oil story isn't true. The cup of oil that lasted one day, that was supposed to only last one day, that burned 8 days. It was created by the rabbis. They added it because they didn't really like the Maccabees. They didn't like it was a military victory. And what's interesting to me is I teach that. I talk about that the miracle didn't happen. And some people get very upset because they learned it as a child. And they go, Bob, why are you sort of taking away from us the miracle? It's not because I'm like the Grinch who stole Hanukkah. Sort of mixed metaphor there.
Yeah,
right?
It would be a cute costume.
The Grinch is stole. Well, yeah, I guess so. We can do that today.
Little blue.
Little blue. We make it more blue than green.
Yeah, exactly.
Jim Carrey. We're going to call Jim Carrey up,
Yeah.
right? Because he played the Grinch the last time. We'll see if we can do the Grinch that stole Hanukkah. But people go, well, why'd you do it? It's not to be Grinch-esque. It's about accuracy. That being grounded in historical fact and in reality is very important to build a strong foundation. And it also becomes important in order to have a quality dialogue. If you have one set of stories that you believe to be true, and I have another set of stories that I believe true, neither one of which are based in anything other than our opinion.
And I actually think it's even more than that.
Oh.
It's more exciting to see how these things are created and how something that it doesn't matter if something happened or not, once enough people have decided to turn it into a huge deal and put certain values into it, change the narrative, and bring it into their lives today. And in some ways, that process of humans coming together and saying, you know what? This is important to me. Right now, the world is dark and scary, and I'm terrified.
Right.
Let's come up with something that's going to remind me that we're strong and I can do things if I band with my people and, whatever that is. I think that's actually way more miraculous and exciting than, some random oil that I don't really care about, you know?
Well,
and I can't prove either way. Like,
right. No, there is something about human creativity.
Yeah.
By saying the story, the miracle is a historical reality. It denies the human component
Exactly.
of creativity, inspiration. It denies conflict. It denies everything. By being historically accurate, we get to see a much richer and much more textured Judaism than a flat Judaism. I find a Judaism that's grounded in miracles incredibly boring. It's uninteresting because it's as if human beings had no context. But when you see people actually creating, figuring it out, reworking it, recreating, saying, well, we're going to tweak, even when they don't like each other, it's fascinating. And when you begin to appreciate it, you begin to actually see it throughout history. We see it even in this very day. We see, so politics have many of the same kind of levels as the creation of religion. People change the story with intent and with purpose.
and these things that we do in our homes determine the kinds of lives that we lead and what kind of families we have, in the sense of what is important to us and how are we going to translate that into our celebration. And that's the truth of holidays. They're here for a reason, and if they don't add something, why bother?
Right, and there are holidays that really do slip out of favor. I mean, the
Yeah.
reality is, holidays do slowly. In fact, if every day was a holiday, no day would be a holiday. And we began to consolidate holidays. I lived in Israel in 1976.
Wow.
Wow, yeah, right. That was. And both of you and Sam, I and Sam are like, you're that old? Yes, I was in graduate school in 1976 at HUC. It was the year that President's Day came into existence.
Wow.
Because it used to be Washington's birthday and Lincoln's birthday. It's two separate, and they conjoined them into one holiday. And I came back and I was confused. I didn't understand what happened to the holiday that I used to know. Well, they began to conjoin holidays. It became a way to, because they needed to separate them out. Too many holidays. It's a problem. Then I see the Jewish calendar frequently is like that. You see that with oftentimes liberal Jews, progressive Jews, secular Jews are finding that during the high holidays, from the high holidays to Sukkot, and it's like, okay, it's overwhelming at some point. We don't have time to make every day special.
But when we also break down these holidays and see into how they were created and the pieces that are exciting about them, it also can reinvigorate the meaning for what we do today and changes the kinds of choices that we make in our own celebrations. And it's something we've been doing with the 6th and 7th graders.
Right.
So we compared the legend of Hanukkah with the legend of Thanksgiving a few weeks ago. Because here you have two stories of oppression and people coming together, victory, and especially the American Indians, Native Americans, and the Pilgrims, lots of bloodshed, lots of violence, lots of awfulness, and yet a total rewriting of history that's all about coming together of difference, being thankful, harvest. We don't talk about everyone dying and scalping each other and all of that stuff, and yet these symbols matter. It's meaningful for families to come together. And we do the same thing with Hanukkah. And so they've also been they've been studying prejudice. And so they each came up with different holidays to try and end prejudice.
Oh, wow.
Because holidays are meant to accomplish something.
What did they come up with?
So they came up with,
great.
so they had to have a legend because every holiday needs a legend to ground it in meaning. And so they had to have a legend, a food, and an activity.
Wow.
And so there were various things for giving. Some things you had to give gifts to different kinds of people or do things for yourself or eat favorite foods. Some of them had some things for the world. It was really cool, and it totally made sense to them.
Well, that's great, because I think because most of us don't create brand new holidays. We reshape old holidays.
Exactly.
That's the reality of a lot of our lives, is we reshape it. Hanukkah right now is, what's the date today? December 11th? Right? 11th.
Yeah.
December 11th. A lot of people, particularly people who have kids or in school, it's hard to celebrate a holiday in the midst of going to school, studying for finals.
So I'm actually celebrating Hanukkah with my family next Wednesday, after Hanukkah is technically over,
Right.
because that's when my sister and my parents and I can all be together. So that's when we'll do it.
Right, and that's really common now. I
Yeah.
think common in the sense that people are going, well, wait a second, is it the date that's important, or is it the fact that a family can get together, light the menorah, celebrate one's identity, and be together as a family? And I think people are beginning to realize, yeah, we don't have to be bound by a date. Because it moves around anyways. It's not as if it was a real thing, and we do that with Monday holidays in America. There's only one or two holidays, July 4th, right?
Yeah.
Which I think people would love. It was made a 3-day
Yeah,
weekend. Frankly, if July 4th became metaphorically, became a metaphor versus a reality, right? So holidays can move around. There's something and we can change it. We reshape
And
it.
also this tension between metaphor and reality, I think it's important to remember with Hanukkah and Christmas and all these gift givings stuff. It's easy to get sucked into the money and the more and the more and the more. But what are we really doing when you pick out a gift, or you make a gift, or you do something nice for another person? You tell them you matter.
Right.
I care about you, and you're important to me. And that's a really powerful message.
Right, and that's why bad gifts are more impactful. It's because what it says is, I didn't think about who you are.
I don't really know you.
Right, and so the thought does matter if you can really be thoughtful. What's interesting, making gifts, and we don't often do that anymore. Often we buy them. That's where gift wrapping actually came in. The idea was wrapping the gift made it special for the unique person you were giving it to. When you bought something that was mass-produced versus doing it by hand. If you did it by hand, clearly if I made you something, which would be awful, whatever I made you, I promise you wouldn't want it. But you go, oh, wasn't that sweet? Bob made it for me. He worked at it, right? Right.
Or if it's a letter or saying how you feel about someone, there are lots of different kinds of ways to show people that we matter and ways to give gifts.
Right, so the wrapping became the alternative to it. So I think this idea of learning about the evolution of it, because people are going to keep on changing holidays too, which holidays have meaning, how we're going to do them, when we decide. I think Passover is also one of these holidays where a lot of people are saying, the first or second Seder is a Monday and Tuesday night. That's really tough. We work, and particularly when it's in the middle of a work week, at a busy season, right, if you're an accountant and Passover falls right before April 15th. I know people, and we do it here. Our Passover Seder now is the Friday night of Passover because it's so much more pleasant. You can stay up later.
Yeah, you don't want to have to worry about getting up in the morning.
Right, you can clean up. If you drink 4 glasses of wine or drink a little bit of wine, you're tired, you want to sleep, you want to relax. It's a lot easier to do Passover that way than versus feeling one is bound to do it. So understanding the creativity, I think, of the past allows us to release our own creativity and allows us to be part of an ongoing sort of authentic expression of Judaism. It's not about taking stuff away from people.
No.
I see this as about giving something to us. And I really appreciate our ancestors much more when I understand their creativity. And want to add one thing. We know this because of archaeology. In fact, some of you may, if you Google what was that piece?
New York Times. And the temple.
The temple in Jerusalem. They just found there was a piece of it looks like a big table that was found in Israel. That people are staggered because it was probably carved around the time when the temple did exist. It's a representation of the temple. So archaeologists understand the evolution. There are disagreements. But with enough information, they can create a pattern flow. Mm-hmm. They can see where stories emerge. You can actually track stories and which stories get done. We can study etymology, language development, grammar development. So when we say these things aren't true, it's not just, oh, I don't like them. We can find the evidence for it, and then we can build something, because an evidence-based conversation is different. There are people who don't like the evidence sometimes.
Yeah.
Some people don't like truth. They want to live mythically, or they want to deny it because it's easier to deny the science or deny the history. But really, when everyone comes to a same place and allows evidence to bring us to the same place, our conversations become far more grounded and far more, I think they can move us forward. And it also allows disparate people to talk better.
And in terms of the legacy we'll leave for our children, it's a lot more exciting.
Right.
And we have a certain responsibility, too.
We do. And a responsibility, because not only do we inherit traditions, we create traditions. And I think sometimes we forget our responsibility to create authentic, meaningful, significant traditions for those who are following us footsteps. And in fact, I'm beginning to hear footsteps upstairs. So tonight's our big Hanukkah celebration here. So I want to wish you all a happy Hanukkah. I hope you enjoy it. You have a lot of whatever night it is. You get to it's sixth night. Got 2 more nights of Hanukkah lighting. And those of you on the West Coast haven't even lit your candles yet, right?
Yeah.
Those West Coast folks, you're just waiting to do that. Be safe. Always keep your candles safe. Should you blow them out before you leave? That's my big thing. I know there was a conversation about that. They said, okay, yes, it's okay. Safe is better than not safe. That's a rabbi's rule. Cool. So we're going to. Is there any questions? Okay, Sam's sitting there reading. He's been intent. We're going to keep moving forward. He's the judge and jury today. So all the comments. The nice thing about the comment stream now, the comments always last. We have a chance to read them afterwards, which is a lot of fun, and it's been very, very helpful. So we're going to conclude with the reading of our. We're going to read with our challah.
In Jewish tradition, we share the challah as we celebrate Shabbat. We're reminded that challah, a twisted loaf of bread, sustains and nurtures the life of our bodies. May the sharing of this challah sustain and nurture our hunger for knowledge and understanding of the world around us. May the sharing of this challah sustain and nurture our connection to those close by and those separated by distance and time. May the sharing of this challah encourage us to reach out to those across our rooms, across our hallways, to those across our desks, and across the miles. May the sharing of the challah strengthen and enrich our coming week. Baruch Amal Kapeinu, blessed is the work of our hands. Baruch Hazon Ha'adam, blessed is the vision of humanity. Baruch Lechem Ha'aretz, blessed is the bread of the earth.
So what's funny about this is last week Ophir was here. And Ophir, those of you who were joining us last night, is a rabbi from Israel, and he started reading the Hebrew, but it's written in transliteration. and his Hebrew is so good, it took him a second because he was trying to translate English characters into Hebrew letters so he could read it.
Yeah.
I said, because some of the stuff is in Hebrew, but occasionally when we printed some of the larger texts that we read from for services, those of us who just read English, we just printed the English version of it. So it struck me as you were reading it. It's just one of those things. Rabbi stuff. So we're going to continue with wine or juice if you have some. On Shabbat, it's custom to share wine or juice with family, friends, and community. It reminds us that it's not enough for us to quench our physical thirst. We must nourish our spirit as well. As we celebrate Shabbat, may this cup of wine or juice remind us to live our lives to the fullest and to embrace the joys and pleasures that life offers. Bruchim chachayim ba'olam, blessed is the life within the world. Bruchim chachayim ba'adam, blessed is the life within each person. We say l'chaim,
L'chaim.
to life. Ooh. So, a couple things. The last 3 services tonight, last week, and the week before that were all about Hanukkah. So if you want to have a Hanukkah trifecta, wow, go back, watch the other 2. So Ophir last week, Rabbi Ophir Sabbath Beit Halachmi. We talked about Hanukkah in Israel,
Cool.
and we talked about some of the interesting things about how Zionists dealt with it and how they reshaped it and how they were using it to create their image of what Israel should be. The week before that was a service where we talked about the Hanukkah guide that's online and what we developed. So take a look, and if you've not already done so, go to Cincinnati OJC or go to our Facebook page and look at our Hanukkah video. It's over 30,000 views. It's showed up on over close to 100,000 people's news feeds. It's very exciting. Watch minute 2, little cameo appearance by a star. It's been very well received. The Hanukkah guide has been very well received. If you haven't used it, even though Hanukkah's just a couple days left, go to it. It's really useful material. People are continuing to purchase our cards at Zazzle. If you need Hanukkah cards, Hanukkah Christmas cards, you can go to Zazzle and type in Our Jewish Community, and the cards come up. And obviously, or maybe it's not obvious, we get a percentage of what you buy, a small percentage, so that really helps fund us. As the year draws to an end, we always ask that if you're able to, a donation to Our Jewish Community would be greatly appreciated. It does two things. Obviously, it helps fund the institution, what we're doing and what we're growing. It's also an affirmation that it's meaningful to people. When we give reports to Grant, some of the foundations that help support us, we can say, look at these, there are people who are giving whatever they can to support us. This has value. So your donation, whatever the amount, is not just the amount of the money, but it's a statement that we can then make to the foundations that we're working with, that indeed this program, our community, our Jewish community, really speaks to people around the world. And that has had great impact. So I hope you can do that. Finally, next week, Reverend Sharon Dittmar is going to be here. We're going to talk, I think, about wonder. Ooh. I think that's the topic, because I think we're going to sort of do that blend between moving from Hanukkah into Christmas. And as some of you may know, and I'll probably say it again next week, one of the great honors I ever had was to give the Christmas sermon at St. John's First Unitarian Church. It's actually on our website. I think it's on our Hanukkah page. If you go to our Cincinnati OJC and click on the video, it'll take you to the next page, which is all Hanukkah. At the very bottom, I think, is the audio of that Christmas sermon, which was a lot of fun to give. So we're going to talk about that because it really speaks to the season. We have a lot going on. We're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whether it's through Facebook or ourjewishcommunity.org or all the many programs and platforms we have. I'm so thrilled you're here. Want to wish you a happy Hanukkah.
Yes, happy Hanukkah and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. We close with our final words. May we know blessings those who are near, and may we know blessings those who are far. And may the Sabbath bring its goodness to everyone soon, wherever they are. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.